Start again, right here. I'm
All
sorry.
right, so high level. Yeah, this is the first meeting. We're gonna talk about rough cost ranges. And if all that sounds okay, the next step is our design process. It's a 5% retainer to get started.
Mm-hmm.
We come back out with one of our designers. That's when we take all of our exact measurements. So kitchen, bathroom, whatever doorways we're opening up. Then we go back to the office, start working on plans, and I'll show you what those plans look like. So once we have our plans, we have y'all come into the showroom, look at the plans. Sometimes there's more than one option, so we'll kind of go over options with you, see what makes the most sense. Or sometimes we take ideas from one plan and merge them with another plan, whatever the case may be. So once we discuss floor plan, then we make the selections for everything. So countertops, cabinets, plumbing fixtures, all the stuff that goes in bathrooms and kitchens. We can do that all in our showroom, so you don't have to go to a whole bunch of different places. And so after that meeting, usually we've got the floor plan laid out, what we're building, and then usually we've got almost all the selections made. And so we've got a pretty good plan. Sometimes there might be some outliers we still got to get finalized. But we have what's going to go back into the space. So we come back out to your house. This time it's with the project manager, with the designer. In the first 30, 45 minutes, we're double checking measurements, what we've designed can work and will fit with what we've designed. And then the rest of our trade team comes out, to plumber, electrician, anybody involved with the job. They get to look at it so we can start figuring out their scope and make sure we got a good plan there. So at that point, everybody's looked at the job that's going to be working on the job. Then we start working on a final scope, final cost. We've got a 27-step building process, how we come into your house. So we realize, people live in the house, so how we're going to set up our site protection, and what that's all going to look like.
So who reviews that 27-step process with us? You
You and I do.
Okay,
All three of us do.
Okay, you review it with us.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and I'll show you a sample of it. And you and the three of us will do it, or if there's sisters or family member involved, we'll all review it together. And then we actually end up going over it 2 times with you in person, and the project manager goes over it with you as well to make sure nothing's changed, or if you need any clarification on anything.
Okay, cool.
And then from there we can talk about start times and completion times. That's really dependent on getting through the design process. For us to have a good build, we've got to have a really good design. Meaning it's well thought out and it's what you want. What we want to try to avoid is building and designing at the same time. It'll drive you all crazy, and it's just a very inefficient way to build something. So got to have good plans. Got to be well thought out. Need your input, or your mom's, whoever's input. Where we're going to put light switches, like all that stuff's got to be figured out, so we have a good plan.
So do y'all use most in-house or subs?
So we've got our own in-house team. And so we do all of the carpentry work, like framing work, and then we use trade partners. That's our plumbers, electricians that are all licensed trades. Yes,
okay,
that's correct. And so let's kind of get into it. So our process, so getting started, we talked about that. Design documents, let's talk about that. So this is the boring stuff, but once again, to have a good build, we got to have a really good plan, and we got to think through this stuff. So once again, we handle all plans and permits. We're going to talk about how we come in and out of your house, what's coming out, what's going back in. All that's written out and specified, so everybody's on the same page. Have you ever done remodeling before?
I built this house.
Have you ever had to live through it?
No.
It's not a fun experience. And so, bathrooms, it's not, your primary bath. It is bearable, but, you got to think about, you're going to have site protection set up going into the bathroom. And then for however long it takes, a month and a half, 2 months of construction, you're going to have people coming in and out of your house every morning. And it's a nuisance. It kind of messes up your daily routines and flows. It can wear on you over time. Having your kitchen remodel is awful. Your kitchen's down, and we can help relocate like refrigerator, pull microwave somewhere else. But your kitchen's going to be down for a while, so you're not cooking. All your stuff is in boxes, and it's an unpleasant experience.
I have a question. You have made a statement. So, on average, this is just nothing to hold your feet to the fire about. But on average, for a kitchen and bathroom model, how long do you think we'll be out of service?
Construction time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll answer that, but answer it in two parts.
Mhm.
Because I know you said mom's moving in July. So usually the design process is going to take anywhere between a month to 2 months to get the plan right.
Mhm.
And it's really dependent on getting selections and your input or family's input.
Mhm.
And so that usually takes 1 to 2 months. Once that's all finalized, like the design part, then we've got to process it internally. So we've got 2 meetings, one internal, one with y'all. That usually takes about a month to get all that figured out.
Okay.
And then materials ordered, and the material usually dictates our start time. And so usually the longest lead times are going to be your cabinets,
Mhm.
and that's shortest is anywhere to 4 to 6 weeks. Longest is anywhere between usually 2.5 months.
Okay.
Okay.
And then construction time.
On an average bathroom like what we just described, showed you.
So bathroom like that is probably going to be functionable in about the 2-ish months mark. It might not be completely finished because if you do like a frameless shower door, all that has to be exact measurement, so you can't even do the template for that until the tile's up, and then that has to be ordered. And so usually the shower door is the last thing that goes in.
Okay.
So probably 2.5 months, it's completely done.
So what's the difference between you guys and those guys that we see on TV all day, every day? They're like saying they could do showers in 1 day in and out.
That's like your So I know you're talking about like your bath fitter type,
Yeah.
rebath type. I can't tell you exactly what they do because I don't really know. But from what I understand, is they take out the tub that you have now, and then they would put in like a fiberglass shower system. And so what we were talking, maybe I misunderstood. I was thinking y'all are going to do a tile shower in there.
You were correct. We were just trying to figure out.
So fiberglass, when you take that stuff out, it'll be demoed out, and they don't do the rest of the bathroom. It's just the wet area. They take the wet stuff out, put a fiberglass unit back in its place, and it's really just a plug and play. And
no customization really is.
Well, I think you can pick out like different colors and like shapes like that, but it's not going to be tile. And so you can do those quickly.
Okay.
So what I was talking about was gutting that whole bathroom. Maybe you don't have to gut all the drywall, but we're gonna have to redo framing to get doorways bigger. And if we start moving stuff around, we'll have to get permits. We handle all that, and there's nothing wrong with permits. But that's just another kind of cog in the schedule that has to be plugged in, so you can go to your next phase.
Okay.
That's really the big difference. But if you just looked at the wet area, you could get that done in a day or two.
Okay. All right. And Mom, so once y'all start on a project, are you here consistently, or does another job jump in and take precedence?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked. That's I was going there next.
Oh, okay.
So every job has a start time, a start date, and a completion date. Now, and let's just say, ballpark right now, I'm thinking you're somewhere in the 3.5-ish months of construction, somewhere in there. So every project has a schedule, and when if we were to do a schedule for your project, we'll do this on the fly, but it'll make sense. Let's say it's going to take us 2 days to do demolition in this kitchen, for instance. And so the next person that needs to come in after demolition is going to be our plumbers to move rough in or whatever it may be. And so when we lay the schedule out, we give us 2 days, but knowing that when you open things up, there always could be a surprise or just something that needs to be addressed before that next person gets in. So we're gonna say, okay, you know what? Let's give us space to do demo. We'll have the plumber come in on the floor. We start demolition. It comes out great on day one. We might have a couple hours the next day. We call the plumber up and say, hey, can we get you in a day early? Looks like we're gonna finish demo ahead of schedule. He says, sorry, Michael, no, I've got you on the schedule on Thursday. I'm booked on Wednesday. So to answer your question, no one will be here every single day, but you're going to have just gaps in the schedule where we wish we could have people, boom, 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 boom. But when you do that with remodeling or construction, you end up pushing people back so many times and no one ever believes in your date. So you have those kind of buffer windows in between the different phases. Because a lot of times you end up, phase ends up taking longer. It usually does not end up taking less time, if that makes sense. So there will be down days. When you're doing your kitchen, for instance, once cabinets go in, you can't template for countertops until all of it's in. They come, they template, and turnaround times anywhere between 7 to 10 days. So in those 7 to 10 days, you can't do much besides maybe doing some painting. And until cabinets go in, you can't start your backsplash. You can't trim out your sinks. And so there's down
process.
There's down, yes sir. Yeah. There's down stuff like this. Okay. But to answer your question, we don't have other jobs take priorities over other jobs. It's just how the schedule lays out.
Okay.
And then so as far as the design package, I've kind of talked about this a lot. To have a good build, we got to have a really good plan. So this is kind of a watered down version, but you have your before, your after layout. Once again, during the design, so we talk about all the details of what's happening in the kitchen or the bathroom, where light switches are going, outlets, finishes, elevations of everything. We want to make sure y'all have a really good understanding, and these are computer renderings, of what it's going to look like. So when we go to build, we can go build it. And also, y'all are both busy. We want you to feel like every morning you're telling the team, hey,
giving them the rundown.
This is what I want you to do today, or this is what I want it to look like. We want to have all that figured out already. And then once again, this is a watered down version of the design package, but it gets into all the different facets of the jobs, the cabinets. Oops. Yeah. So your countertops, any seam locations, backsplash, all that's figured out. You got your electrical plan, light fixtures, where everything's going. We want to, we want to have all that planned out. That's the design package, and then construction. So the biggest, once again, we've been doing this since 1960, so we've been doing it a while. Everybody's different, but what we found is that what drives people the craziest is not knowing what's happening.
True. Repeat that again, brother.
It's not knowing what's happening. Man. It just drives people bonkers. So,
nuts, right? It drives people nuts, right?
Yes,
it drives me nuts.
So we can always get better at this, but this is one of our strengths too. So when we start a job, we set up a text chain. So for instance, let's say it's the two of y'all, myself, the project manager and designer. On Thursdays, Friday mornings, we send out a text of what's happening the next week. So it's basic, but say drywall's Monday, Tuesday. We're gonna let it dry for a day and then come back and sand and finish, or whatever it is. And then that happens every week. And then once we get into that week, we've got a 24-hour communication policy. Meaning, so if we see here in the morning, we're just going to tell you if any changes or any updates. But if y'all are at work, we'll call you, text you. It could be, the drywall person, it's taking longer than expected to get all the drywall up or to dry or whatever it is. But just keep you up to date on what's going on.
So you have a 24-hour response policy or 24 hours.
communication.
So you every 24 hours you're in communication with me throughout
Yep.
the whole process.
Or whoever's designated as the person we need to contact with. Now, but if in the morning we see you and say, hey, Allie, this is what we're doing today.
We communicated already.
We count that. But if you're at work, and a lot of our clients are, we don't want a week to go by or several days to go by you not knowing what's happening. That's the idea behind that. And we also send out weekly surveys. And then we kind of touched on this, but this happens with everybody. We call this the emotional roller coaster of remodeling. And there's exciting points, and then there's low points, real low points. And I share that with you just so you kind of know what you're getting into. Especially kitchens, it can be a not fun process. So you got a whole family here. There's no kitchen. It gets stressful. Murphy's Law always kicks in at the very worst time. Like, you've got the flu, you got COVID, we're still trying to remodel, you don't have a kitchen, or mom needs to move in sooner, or mom's coming in, the kitchen's almost finished, we're waiting on, make something up, the hood fan to come in because the original one came in damaged, delivery driver brings it to the front door, he slips, he drops, he breaks it, and we got to order another one. It's always at the worst possible time.
It's always great to let people know the worst case scenario, man. You know what I'm saying? To prime their thoughts and also put their expectations within reason. You know what I'm saying? Because this is, any type of renovation does cause friction in your home, friction in your family, you know, and most contractors don't ever provide that side of the game, right?
Sure.
They just really want to just come get your deposit and run out, but never really say, hey man, this is really gonna not be the best experience for you.
We try to make it pleasant, but
but it's true though, man. You got random people in your house. You feel
true.
me? You can't cook. You can't use your bathroom.
It's true.
Yeah. So
it's true. It's an unpleasant experience. But with all that said, we give you a start time, we give you a completion time, and the goal is once it's complete, we can all sit back down at the table. Everybody's happy with each other, and shake hands and thank you for the business, and hopefully we've done a good job and get a referral from you as well. But there's going to be some ups and downs on the way. That happens with everybody. Any questions on this so far?
No, I'm good, brother.
That's
That's it?
Yeah.
Oh, cool, man.